Hello, Robert. Robert? Robert, are you there?
Okay, but I cannot hear you.
Hello, everyone. This is Michelle Monroe. Just wanted to connect in with you. Thank you for tuning in. There seems to be just a slight confusion in terms of the links. So my sincere apologies. We're just trying to sort this out right now behind the scenes, which is why you don't have the facilitator here. So I am going to ask that we close this link and then we will try and reconnect you. This time slot is about to be closing. And so we're just asking for your patience just for a few more minutes.
Michelle? Why can't we have a discussion among the people that are in the room now, just sitting? I don't know if anyone else can hear what I'm saying, but I think it's kind of ridiculous that we sit here not saying anything, not getting anything out of this, when we could just be chatting among ourselves at least. Why not?
So yes, Jess, why don't we do that instead of wasting the time? So what I've done is I'm unmuting everyone. So what I could do is we can just do the conversation. I've asked you to unmute yourselves. So if everyone can do that, and then we can have the conversation. Can I just get in the chat? Just Shayla, Crystal, Veronica, can you all here just put a yes in the chat so we know that you're actually there and with us? Yes, so let's talk about engaging virtual families in school council sessions. And so let me just pose a couple questions to the audience. Are you a virtual parent engaging in your council, or are you bricks and mortar? Just drop in the chat for me as a parent. Are you a virtual parent right now? And are you connected to your school council? If so, how? So we've got a few virtual parents. I have a bricks and mortar parent who's part of the school council. So one of the things that we are really encouraging is school councils stay connected, bricks and mortars council stay connected to their virtual council. So let's talk a bit about some of the ways that not just the school council, but that schools also can engage virtual families. So one of the things I want to ensure is, let's just start talking about school council. What are some of the strategies for school council to be connect with virtual families? Let's begin right now with the stage that we're in, because we are in a stage of elections right now. So one of the key things that we're always encouraging during the election process is that the existing council is working very, very closely with the school to ensure that when you're putting your information out, meaning your information that you are hosting council elections, and I'm going to even go as far as say you're hosting council meetings, that you absolutely ensure that every parent, even those who are in the virtual school, is getting this information. By now, every school principal should have access to all the parents who signed up for virtual school or whose children are in virtual school. So they should be able to put and share your communication with just about every parent that is connected to that bricks and mortar. That communication was shared with principals a while back, and we're hoping now that all principals can do that. So one way to ensure that your virtual parents are aware of your council is that the school is actually engaging in this activity and ensuring that this communication is happening on a regular basis. One of the things we want to endure is to think about, what are some of the things that virtual parents may be experiencing right now that bricks and mortars may not be? And what are some of those differences? And so one of the difference that we can talk about is parents who are virtual. One of the key things for them is navigating, as we have learned today, the world of logging into Brightspace, logging out of Brightspace, supporting their children in navigating that tool. Also, one key thing about knowing who to call, when to call, how to call. So one of the ways to think about engaging virtual families, particularly through the school councils, is actually having council think about, what are some of those needs of virtual parents, and how are we thinking and planning some very specifically related activities that could be connecting to virtual parents and meeting virtual parents' needs, as well as meeting those needs of your bricks and mortar. So you could be hosting conversation circles now for your virtual parents, and could be bringing in a speaker to talk about, or a teacher from the school to talk about, what is Brightspace? How do you enter that tool for your virtual learning? How do you communicate with your teacher in virtual? How do you support your students in the logging in, the logging off? How do you track the homework, what they're supposed to do, what they're not supposed to do?
Michelle, I guess I'm a little curious here, because remember, the Bricks and Mortar Council, as you well know, as we all know, is not at all parallel to the virtual. The virtual schools have different needs, and they have different populations. Can you tell us when there's going to be something come from the school board about how virtual parents in virtual schools are going to be organized? Because I think it's kind of hard to ask homeschool councils who are primarily focusing on their homeschools to spend a lot of time on this fairly technologically heavy thing that you're talking about. Why doesn't the board get on that and help all virtual parents to understand that? Why? I'm just not quite following the logic here.
Well, I'll say to you that the virtual schools has, and I'm hoping everyone will join the conversation Sunday, has commenced that work in beginning to work within the virtual principals, vice principals, and teachers to be organizing activities and conversations. So there's a newsletter that will be done by the district for virtual parents so they can be updated in the virtual world. There's also chats being organized by teachers for virtual parents to sort of begin to link and support them specifically in that way. So it's a great question, Jess, and that work has started within the virtual environment to engage virtual parents within the virtual environment. But keep in mind, one of the things we had actually talked about was ensuring that we keep, particularly for speaking school councils, that parent reps in bricks and mortar is connected to the school council, to the virtual parents are connected to bricks and mortar school, right? That too is one of the commitments that we've made. And so while we recognize that the needs may be different, we wanted to be sure that those two remain connected. But the district, the TDSB, is actually engaging in steps now within our virtual schools to be able to now engage virtual parents in various forums. And so on Sunday afternoon, our final panelist will be made up of TDSB staff, where we'll hear directly from Minan Gardner, the lead for that, and she'll be speaking to some of the things that virtual schools are doing to engage virtual families within that virtual space, because they've heard very clearly from virtual families that they would like to have more communication. So that is actually presently in the work. So thank you for that, Jess. It is a valid question, and the work is beginning. A part of the delay for the work was simply due to the fact that they were settling the virtual schools. Now that you've noticed there's been some delay in terms of the pivoting from bricks and mortar to virtual, and from the virtual school to the bricks and mortar, staff will now be able to focus some more time on that. I see your hand, Crystal. Go ahead. Unmute yourself, Crystal.
So I'm actually from another board. We're here spies, actually. I'm chair of the PIC at Limestone School Board. But you guys just have so many things going on, and it's so great. We're here to take notes. But what we did is we had individual school councils create a virtual parent rep on each school council to try to not only maintain that connection, but to also bring that voice and the concerns or opportunities, etc., to the school council, and to ensure that those families were included in things. So the virtual school rep would also sit on the community engagement committee, things like that, so that they're all working together. We just used one of the already existent community rep positions and titled it virtual parent rep. And that's kind of how we did that roundabout here.
That's a good idea.
Thank you for that, Crystal, and welcome. Thank you for joining us from wherever district you're joining us from. Glad to have you, right? So what Crystal indicated is that they created a position on the executive of their school council for virtual parents. One of the things we flagged in the Toronto District School Board was we shouldn't need to create a position on council, because virtual parents are already eligible to be members of the school council, which means that any virtual parents could run for the school council and become chair, co-chair, or take on any executive position of council. That's why we didn't make a distinction between that within the TDSB, because we were hoping that virtual parents, as they should, have full access to become a voting member of council, be the chair of council, co-chair of council, vice chair of council, or an executive of council. It is totally
Michelle,
at their discretion.
What this idea is, it doesn't say that everybody has to have a representative, but what this would do is bring to the attention of the school council to this issue and see if there's somebody out there in the virtual parent community for the school who would be willing to kind of have that role to keep track of what was happening on the virtual side for the parents that are connected with the home council, and bring it back to the council. I think it's a great idea, but it doesn't have to be formalized. It's just an idea.
We also have, our board did, it doesn't matter if your child is enrolled in virtual or in bricks and mortar, you're eligible for any executive position on the SAC anyway. It was specifically to ensure that that voice was there for the virtual families, because we did have concerns obviously about the disconnect, and we wanted to ensure they were included and felt that connection still with their homeschool community.
But it'd be better to have somebody who actually has experience with virtual school. That would be better, surely.
Oh yeah, well, it's a parent. So our description was it would be best if it were someone who was actively involved with the school council and who had their children were in virtual school. So it was someone who already had a bit of a connection with the families, who, mind you, we are much smaller than you, so we don't have nearly as many students that aren't in the virtual school. But it was to help just maintain that connection, really.
That's a good idea.
The other thing that council may want to think about is what we're calling parent hubs or parent pods, right? Because once you get a sense via your council who those parents are virtually, as a council, you can facilitate individual conversations among your virtual and your non-virtual, right? And just call them parent pods, where outside of your formal meetings, you're providing an opportunity for parents, and the pods are simply about parents connecting, networking, and talking to each other, right? And that's really just providing parents the opportunity to say, hey, what's happening? How are you doing? How's the child doing? Are you accessing what you need? And we just call those parent pods. That enables it to do that. I see Sheila is saying that they've created a Facebook group for their virtual parents in the school. Which is another option where you're engaging all parents. So social media is one of the tools, whether it's a virtual groups. I know in TDSB, one of the things that are growing, not led by the district, but by a number of councils in their local neighborhoods, is also a WhatsApp group. And that there are parents who are doing WhatsApp groups as well to remain connected and communicated with each other, but also cross-pollinating, because there's a trying and intentional effort to try and cross-pollinate virtual and non-virtual at the same time. But I've also seen where virtual parents have said very clearly that it would be great to be able to connect. So think about your parent pods, whether you do that pod in a Facebook group, whether you do that pod within your WhatsApp, whichever works best for you. It's another way to engaging your virtual families.
But Michelle, another way to think about this would be to recognize that virtual parents across the city have many similar problems, and query whether the board or PIAC or somebody on a citywide basis might want to say, you know, how about setting up a Facebook group or WhatsApp or something that's not based on, and I recognize the importance of keeping people connected to the home school, and that's fine, that can go on. But in the meantime, as problems arise in the virtual schools, they're citywide. And so anybody who has a problem should get together with anybody else in the whole city who has a similar problem to see what solutions could be arrived at.
I want to say something. I'm not sure whether I'm connected yet, but I've been having trouble for about a half an hour getting connected. I totally agree with Jess. I tried to get connected to my RH King video last week, and there were all sorts of technical problems, and I got in just as the meeting ended. So there needs to be a little bit of ability for either people who are learning to use this process or through your office, Michelle, to make it feasible, because I actually even missed the check-in for my parent council because of the technical thing. So this is new ground for all of us. And I think the point that Jess is making is very certainly resonates with me like crazy. I probably am an older parent, and maybe it was because there was no electricity when I was born or something, but getting used to this is really tough.
Thank you for that, Robert, and I agree. And I think we are all on that learning curve. And because I have parent caregivers who are not all from TDSB, one of the things that as I move and connect with my colleagues across the province who are in various cities, even different districts. So even from the Toronto district to the Catholic district, some of the ways in which we're rolling out virtual, there are some slight difference. While the parent caregiver experience in terms of navigating the virtual world, navigating logins and passwords may be similar. The way each board has structured and designed their virtual and non-virtual in some spaces look different. And so that's what we've got to keep in mind as we explore that. But the other key thing I'm going to say, Robert, that I agree is that we as a district are looking for ways to continue to get our parent caregivers information as to accessing and navigating these tools, whether it be Zoom, whether it be Google Classroom, whether it be Brightspace, in terms of our virtual parents, to be consistently finding all the opportunities we can to provide simple how-to instructions, and that enables simple access, and most importantly, easy access to the various platforms. And that's going to be an ongoing piece for us. And the other piece that we're really working on is the multilingual access as well, because we're hearing that from our families, that once they're in, language is also an issue in navigating most of the virtual world, where most of it is in English. So those are the pieces that we continue to take a look at and find ways to be creative in getting information. So we've heard from Crystal. Is there anyone on the line for this moment who may be doing something interesting that they would like to share with us? Okay, I'm seeing that I'm getting the flag notice that actually it is 2:30 and our time is up for this session. And so I'm going to say thank you for joining us and apologize for the delay and wait in terms of the link for those who are here. And I'm hoping your next session, which starts at 2:45, runs smoothly. All right, so thank you everyone and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank
Bye, thanks.
you. Thank you. Bye. Nobody's leaving. See, this is this is what happened when you start talking. Nobody wants to leave.
Staying for 2:45, but your next session starts, Sarah, at 2:45. I'm here. There's a conversation you want to have or to continue this one, I'm here.
Maybe everybody's afraid now to leave and not coming back.
Well, let me do what? I'll leave this open and then you can check into your 2:45 to be sure that you can get in.
There is about 5 parents that I could, that they could not got in anyway. So okay, I'm gonna leave.
Start logging into your next one now, Estella. May I recommend, just to be sure that you're good.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, everyone. We're wrapping up with this one.
Give me 1 second. Here she is. The second one is is that the 2:45?
Yes, your next session starts at 2:45. It ends at, this one ends 2:30. You get a 15-minute, and then your next one starts at 2:45.
Says John video call. I don't want to go into video call. I want to go into the. I said no. Okay, so lunch meeting.
Let's hope that the facilitator is in. All right, everyone, I'm going to end this session now. So you will be getting kicked out of it. Bye.